Good evening. I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
The record will reflect that Mayor Pro Tem Henn is absent and he has an excused absence.
I think we should note that our prayers and sympathy go to Mike and Lynn at the loss of Mike's mother this week, and he is in Indianapolis attending to family matters. Madam City Attorney, is there a closed session report?
No, Mayor.
All right, please stand, and Councilmember Webb will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Reverend Peter Haynes of St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church.
After 2 weeks of observing foreign nation flags, it's wonderful to be back to say the pledge to our flag. Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To invite you into prayer. Wondrous God, fountain of life and source of goodness, you have made all that is and given us all we have. We are grateful and thank you for the people of this beautiful place and for able, responsible leaders in the mutual regard which forms our civic life. Give us, we pray, your spirit of peace, justice, charity, wisdom, humor, and grace, that we may find with one another the fulfillment of our humanity here in this lovely city. For you are gracious, great lover of souls, and to you we give glory and honor, now and forever.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Haynes. I would first like to invite the representatives of the American Legion Auxillary, Karen Karanickolas, and our Miss Poppy this year, Rachel Leidemann, to come forward. And while they're doing that, I'd like to read a proclamation. Whereas nearly 1 million members of the American Legion Auxillary, the world's largest patriotic service organization of women, are asking every elected and appointed official of the local, state, and national level to wear a poppy on the observance of Memorial Day, May 31st, 2010, and whereas the poppy honors the millions of Americans who have willingly served and who are currently serving our nation, all too many of whom have made the ultimate sacrifice, and whereas the poppy also honors the hospitalized and disabled veterans who make these red handcrafted flowers, the poppy continues to provide a financial and therapeutic benefit to those veterans who constructed them, as well as benefiting thousands of other veterans and their families by the revenues collected from poppy distributions. And whereas the battlefields of Belgium during World War I, poppies grew wild amid the ravages of war, the overturned soils of battle enabled the poppy seeds to be covered, allowing them to grow and forever serve as a reminder of the bloodshed of war. Now, therefore, I, Keith D. Curry, Mayor of the City of Newport Beach, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of May 9 through May 15 as Poppy Week in the City of Newport Beach, California, and urge all residents to recognize the importance of the poppy and what it represents, a symbol of the price of war and the sacrifices of millions.
Thank you. My name is Karen Karanickolas, and I'm the president of the American Legion Auxillary here in Newport Harbor. And I want to thank you, Mayor Keith Curry, and the City Council for proclaiming Poppy Week, May 9th through May 15th. Thank you. I appreciate the detail on the proclamation because that's exactly what the history of the poppy is. It's just amazing. And no matter what the cost of maintaining and supplying the poppy shops, the memorial poppy is never sold, but given in exchange for a contribution. So please help us honor these men and women by wearing your poppy during Poppy Week and on Memorial Day. I'd like to introduce our Miss Poppy, Rachel Leidemann.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to recite the poem In Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row. That marks our place in the sky, the larks still bravely singing. Fly scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, short days go. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up the quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. But If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Rachel.
I would like to give you guys all a boutonniere, a little poppy boutonniere. So,
It's interesting that as we went through a lot of the rural areas in Italy, the red poppies still grow there, and they're very significant. And as I passed through, I know I remembered the American Legion's dedication to this.
We have a second presentation tonight. This person actually doesn't know she's going to get this award, but if you've received your news about Newport Beach over the last several years, you probably received it through the pen of Brianna Bailey. This is the last council meeting that Brianna is going to be covering. She's moving back to her home in Norman, Oklahoma, and so we are going to miss her. The community is going to miss her, and the well-done job that she did in documenting what goes on here and throughout our city. So let me invite Brianna Bailey to come down and receive this recognition.
I'm really surprised, and I wasn't expecting this at all, and I never thought I would be standing up here. But I just wanted to say I love this place, and I'm really going to miss it, and I've enjoyed working here so much. It's a wonderful city, and I've always been so impressed with all of your dedication to it and your professionalism. So thank you.
Thank you, Brianna.
Thanks, Brianna. You did a good job while you were here.
Absolutely. Notice to the public.
The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Thank you. Before we do that, Madam City Attorney, I think I forgot to ask a question. Is there anything that we need to report from closed session?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Selich.
Well, a couple of announcements. First of all, this Sunday, May 16th, it's the Balboa Island Art Walk again. It's from 9 to 5. There's going to be over a mile of art and live music. It's a premier showcase in Newport Beach for the talents of our local artists. It's all going to be along the South Bayfront Promenade. There's going to be paintings, glass blowing, sculpture, photography, fine jewelry, live music all day. There'll be a number of bands playing along the promenade. And also there'll be an opportunity to buy limited edition Art Walk posters and T-shirts at Sapphire and South Bayfront. So it's a great family event. Again, it's Sunday, May 16th from 9 to 5, Balboa Island. And second, I'd like to report on my Relay for Life Walk and Rendezvous event. I took up the challenge from Councilwoman Gardner to have some type of event to raise money for our Relay for Life, which is coming up this weekend at Newport Harbor High School. We had a walk and rendezvous at the Village Inn on Balboa Island. Had about 45 to 50 people show up. We did a history quiz and walk around Balboa Island. We raffled off a lot of cool items. Coincidentally, most of them had Newport Beach logos on them. And we raised $2,000. So I want to thank all those who participated for their generous contributions. It was a fun event. I think we all had a lot of fun. And also I want to thank my beautiful wife, Lynn, who's I know is watching, because she did all the work. I just showed up. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Rosansky?
None, thank you.
Councilmember Daigle?
Yes, the city is going to be hosting a free workshop. That would be a free workshop for seniors and those soon to be seniors. And we're going to have representatives from Social Security and Medicare, Medi-Cal, and Veteran Services. And the panel is going to talk about the programs and the benefits that are available to seniors. We'll have a panel, and then you'll have the opportunity to ask some questions. We'll have refreshments provided by Cal Optima. There'll be free refreshments. And the city is working with the county and the federal government so that when our seniors do have questions, they can come to us as well as a local resource. I know one senior told me that it took him 3 years to get his earnings straightened out with Social Security. So this workshop will be held on Monday, May 17th at 2 p.m. in the Friends meeting room of the Newport Beach Central Library on Avocado. So if you're a senior or about to be a senior, I would certainly welcome to attend. I look forward to meeting you. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner?
Yes, some time ago, our Green Building Task Force sunsetted. We had a white paper making suggestions, and I would like a report back in the next month or two as to what, if any, actions have been taken by the city to further those proposals. Secondly, the mayor and I attended the literacy luncheon, and I mention that because one of the things they want to do is get the word out that we do have people who have reading problems in a city like ours. I think my assumption is that we're an educated, affluent community. We don't have that issue, and we do. We have thousands of people who have somehow managed to get through large parts of their lives without being able to read and with all of the problems that causes. So there's a terrific program through the library, the literacy tutors one-on-one, and it's a great cause to support, and you can look into it by going online at the library.
Mr. Webb?
I have none.
A couple of things. The city and Clean Energy have joined forces to place Orange County's newest CNG station in Newport Beach. This alternative fuel facility will help serve the city's growing CNG fleet and provides another fueling location for public agencies, commercial fleets, and members of the community. It's located at the city's General Services Corporation yard at 592 Superior near Industrial Way. And on Wednesday, May 19th at 9:30 in the morning, there will be a grand opening for this facility. This is consistent with our fiscal sustainability plan that encourages us both to be cost-effective and to be energy efficient. This is a public-private partnership. It's already open. We've pumped 9,600 gallons so far in less than 6 weeks. The city receives 5 cents a gallon for every gallon that we pump. It's open 24/7, and many commercial fleets, such as AT&T, Waste Management, Yellow Cab, and the airport shuttles. All of the airport cabs are CNG cabs. This is the closest fueling facility to the airport for them, along with many of our waste haulers are using this facility. The city itself is converting its fleet to CNG. The equivalent cost is $1.85 per gallon compared to $2.60 per gallon. So it's generating a significant savings to us in terms of our own fuel cost, and we are continuing now to look to not only our large equipment, but smaller police cars and other types of equipment to convert to CNG. So this is both a cost-saving item, an environmental item, and an entrepreneurial item that the city is embarking in. So I encourage you to join us on May 19th for that opening. Over the course of the last 2 weeks, I was privileged to participate in some of the yacht club opening days throughout our city at Newport Harbor, Balboa, Bahia Corinthian, the American Legion, and the Oasis Sailing Club. And it simply reinforced how important sailing is to our community, both to our heritage and as a recreational aspect and as a commercial aspect in our harbor. And I just encourage everybody to take some time and get out on the boat and really enjoy the harbor, because it's really one of our great resources here. On May 2nd, I was privileged to fire the horn to kick off 13,000 runners for the Orange County Marathon. We had great weather and an opportunity from people from all over the world to really see and appreciate our city in a great way while they did the marathon, and it was completely successful. And I'm also pleased to hear that from the executive director of the Newport Beach Film Festival that it appears that we've exceeded last year's attendance of more than 51,000 this year, as the Newport Beach Film Festival continues to become one of the premier stops in the entertainment world. So with that, let us now move to the consent calendar. Does anyone have any items to pull from the consent calendar? Councilmember Daigle.
I would make the comment, items 7 and 8. It's great to see our ongoing progress on traffic signal synchronization. I think we're on our 5th phase of 8, I think is the program now. And then I wanted to register a no vote on 5.
Okay. Councilmember Gardner.
Number 14.
Councilmember Webb.
I have none.
Councilmember Selich.
I have none tonight.
Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Okay, and I have none. Mr. City Manager, do you have any items to pull?
No, sir.
Does anyone in the audience have any items they'd like to pull? Number 5. Are there any other items anyone in the audience would like to see pulled? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion for the balance of the consent calendar?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendars, items number 1 through 18, except for items number 5 and 14.
Okay, is there any?
No, they pulled 5.
Okay. Is there any discussion from the audience of anybody on an item on the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item number 5. Mr. Starr.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Brian Starr, representing the Building Industry Association of Orange County. I am not a lawyer, but I'm also joined by our outside counsel here in the audience if there are any pointed legal questions from the council dais this evening. We're speaking on this item, specifically an item to mandate the private subsidy or private subsidies for the production of low-income housing in the city of Newport Beach. This is an item that we have been opposed to consistently, but we want to take this opportunity because we generally are at a disadvantage where we don't have an opportunity to rebut either something that staff says or maybe answer a question that council had of staff. Many of you at the last council meeting had mentioned that you were opposed to this idea philosophically. However, you felt it was a mandate from the state. I'm here to say it is not a mandate from the state. There is nothing in state housing element law that says that you need to adopt an inclusionary housing mandate, period. You can't find it in the law. I wanted to address a couple of very specific council member comments. Mayor Curry asked if the Costa Hawkins court ruling applied to rental units that were mapped for condominiums. Specifically, per the ruling, are they exempt from inclusionary mandates? The city attorney replied, no, they are not exempt. However, in a letter that we submitted today, we cite very specific language that repudiates her claim. This point needs to be clarified in the language of the ordinance. Further reason for a continuance on this item. Councilmember Gardner mentioned that while other cities in Orange County have more developable land, densely populated coastal cities like Newport Beach are virtually built out and forced to resort to inclusionary mandates to accomplish their RENA mandates. While that may be true that coastal cities have unique challenges, it is not true that inclusionary mandates will solve those challenges. Moreover, it is false that simply adopting inclusionary policy will do anything to help your housing element. Conversely, it will do no harm to your housing element if you choose not to adopt inclusionary mandates. Case in point, in 2008, the city of San Clemente was asked by their staff to adopt an inclusionary mandate as a component of their housing element. The City Council refused and ordered the mandate be removed. The Council proceeded to adopt the balance of the housing element, sent it to the state, and it was certified by the state. No housing mandate. On that point, last council meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Hen is not here tonight, asked if we chose to postpone this item, would that hurt our chances of getting our housing element certified by the state? The answer from the staff was no. But then there was a caveat added, but it may hurt our chances in the future. I would argue, with all due respect, that's a very subjective claim and not evidenced by any factual data. In fact, San Clemente example would prove otherwise. We also heard that we've been dealing with this for a long time, and we just want to get it done. And I would argue, please don't rush this. It's because it's been around for a while. There are court cases that are pending right now in the California court system that may kind of make our claim that this is unlawful exaction due to the Patterson case a reality. What you would have then is having to take valuable staff time to overturn an ordinance that you may adopt tonight. Even worse, you would have to spend valuable tax dollars to defend this ordinance in court. I don't think the city's in a financial position to be able to do that. And then you may also be, if you did have applications come through and you charged a fee, you may be in a situation where you'd have to actually refund that fee to a developer. In some cases, that money would already be spent, which it would have to come out of the general fund. Again, I ask the council, please be patient with this important policy. Wait for the courts to sort it out. BIA would not be this persistent if this was not such a critical issue. Inclusionary housing mandates kill projects, plain and simple. You kill projects, you kill jobs. Please do not adopt this policy tonight. Continue it until the courts rule. At the very least, clean it up to address accurately state policy or state law. Thank you very much. I'm here for questions if there are any.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Starr?
I think one of the things that we asked last time was where we were in that process of legal challenges. But it seems to me we're not talking about something that was going to be decided in the next few months, but rather in several years. Is that my memory correct in that?
I could give you a timeline on when it would be decided. I can tell you that it was, the latest court case, CBIA versus San Jose, was submitted in March to the California Superior Court. It could take a long time, but
to the Superior Court or
California Superior Court in the county in San Jose, where San Jose resides.
So I mean, that's not even. Then it could be appealed, and so we could.
It absolutely could be.
Years and years.
The point is that you could be in a situation where you adopt a policy and you charge fees, but the court overturns that ordinance, and then you'd have to reimburse those fees. Our point is there's not enough planning applications where this is such a timely issue that it needs to be done now. Your housing element would be certified without inclusionary mandates. It just would.
Any other questions, Mr. Starr? Does staff have any comments they'd like to make relative to Mr. Starr's comments?
Just a brief comment, and I do disagree with the statements that were attributed to me at the last meeting. We certainly recognize the restraints placed by the cases cited by Mr. Starr, in particular Palmer case, and that does affect rental housing and the city's ability to restrict rates for rental housing. That's not what this ordinance does. Our office expressly reviewed this ordinance with that constraint in mind. So as to the point as to rental rates, it's simply that's not what our ordinance attempts to do. That's all.
Ms. Wood?
Thank you. And it was I who made the comment about the likelihood of certification of this and future housing elements. And the reason that I was concerned about a future housing element is that among the things that cities must do when the housing element is updated every 5 or so years is to report on your progress in achieving the goals that were established in the previous element. And I didn't bring the numbers with me this evening, but my memory is that since we have had an inclusionary policy in our housing element, even though we haven't had an ordinance as we're proposing to implement it as effectively as we would like, we have achieved 17% of the new housing that was developed under the city's control as affordable. So other cities have tools they can use, such as redevelopment agency set-aside. Newport Beach doesn't have that. This has been an effective program for us.
Any other comments by council members? Is there a motion?
Move that we approve the recommended action.
Second. I would just say that at the last meeting, I raised the issue of whether we needed to continue this or not. I am one of the guys who's sort of philosophically opposed to the whole approach. It is, you know, we do have a variety of mandates that we try to respond to, but I think Mr. Starr has raised some interesting points, and I'll be voting no today, too. But please vote.
With council members Daigle and Mayor Curry voting no, the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Item 17. 14, excuse me.
Mr. Mayor, this item is, involves mooring management, and the staff recommendation is to ask you for authorization to go forward and to negotiate a new five-year contract with the Orange County Sheriff's Harbor Patrol for mooring management services. There's a fairly detailed staff report in your packet. We can talk about that more, but I think Councilmember Gardner has a specific
I just
question.
had one question, because it started off and we had Bellport, and Bellport was going to be the purveyor of the services, and there was and I'm not a boater, so this is why I have to ask these questions, concern in the boating community because it wasn't 24-hour service. Do we have any idea of the need for that? I mean, is this something that every day or several times a week we get a call, or is it something that once a year, somebody needs something after hours? I don't know, so.
Chris Miller with Harbor Resources Division. Yes, we do have a need for it. Sometimes transient boaters do come in past the daylight hours, and also when their moorings, when the mooring permittees' moorings are rented to those folks. Well, the original permittee might be coming back from Catalina in the early evening hours, as an example, on a Sunday at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night or later. And they might come back to find a rental boat on their mooring. So there is a need there. And in that case, what they would do is they would contact the Harbor Patrol, who would then relocate that renter to another vacant mooring. So that's where the issue of the 24-hour service comes up.
Okay. Move the action.
Motion, is there a second? I'll second. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Anyone from the audience wishing to speak before we vote? All right, seeing none, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is oral reports from city council members on committee activities. Councilmember Daigle.
Yes, the ongoing saga of the Duke takeoff procedures, and our Citizens Aviation Committee met, and the airport reported to us that, based on limited data, that the Duke is not working in terms of flying over the center of the bay, and that they also noted that the classic tracks, those that are not the Duke tracks, are all working within historical patterns. So if you live on the other side of the bay, things, at least according to the airport, are normal. Now, after the citizens' meeting, the FAA administration informed the county that they shared that opinion, that Duke 2 is not working as intended, and that they will work to refine Duke 2. So we're at a point where both the county and the FAA acknowledge shortcomings in the performance of Duke 2. Both are committed to refining Duke 2 with the intended objective of flying over the center of the bay, and that the timeline at this stage to refine and implement a Duke 3 is similar to what it took from Duke 1 to Duke 2, which is about 8 months. Now, the county is working with the FAA to see if they can expedite that timeline. Now, what's one of the really great things about our community is we have considerable expertise on airport issues. We have commercial pilots living here, TWA, Delta, United, and they've all been very generous in their input on how this might want to work. Now, in terms of the city's positioning, the airport is our sponsor, so we don't go directly to the FAA. We let the airport do that. So I wanted to point that out in terms of the protocol of how we advocate for what we think the changes ought to be. And that explains also why the airport comes to all of our Citizens Aviation Committee meetings. So that would be my update on the committee meeting, and it was a very well-attended meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
The Media and Communications Committee met. We will be presenting some proposed revisions to the telecom ordinance shortly, and also we are looking at Newport Beach television coverage and what we should do with our programming. There was a survey that went out and got a good response, almost a 10% response on those who got the mailer. So that will also be coming to the council in a month or two.
Thank you. Mr. Webb? I have none. Mr. Selich?
Well, I'm happy to report that after 2 years of work, maybe longer, the zoning code is finally going to the Planning Commission.
You're here.
And I want to thank Councilwoman Daigle and Councilmember Webb for all the hours they put in reading all of this mind-boggling detail that goes into a zoning code. I mean, it's something that only a policy wonk could love. Put a lot of work into it. We had a technical advisory committee who I'm sure will be appropriately recognizing those folks that helped us work on it and the staff who worked really hard on it. And so it will be going to the Planning Commission on May the 20th at 4:30. They'll start their review of it, and hopefully they won't take 2 years to finish their part of it.
Councilmember Rosansky.
None, thank you.
The Finance Committee did have a meeting, and we considered a preview of the city's budget. If you missed the study session that was held earlier, I encourage you to tune in, where staff made a pretty detailed presentation comparable to what was given to the Finance Committee. When we start the budget presentations at our next council meeting, what you'll see is that the proposed budget is $8.7 million lower in terms of the operating budget, while at the same time we're able to push forward and undertake the Civic Center and also undertake some important projects like the dredging of the Rhine Channel. We're also able to do this by putting, without reducing the amount of police officers and firemen on the streets, which is, as you know, been a big issue in other cities. And I think this is a real tribute and testimony to the leadership of our city manager, to the efficacy of our fiscal sustainability plan, and the whole effort of the entire city staff to address this issue in a way that minimizes the impact on the citizens, while at the same time keeping our service levels high and our fiscal situation strong. Public comments, Madam City Clerk.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
Thank you. I would invite anyone who wishes to make public comments on a matter not on the agenda to come forward, please. Please state your name.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Eddie Marquez, Southern California Edison, located in Santa Ana. Staff, City Council. I wanted to give you a quick update. I know you've got a lot of other priorities, but these are issues that are important to the council. I wanted to give you a quick update on infrastructure, energy efficiency, alternative energy, and rates. The rate situation is going to be stable for the remainder of the year. Natural gas prices are stable. 50% of the power that we get comes from natural gas. 25% comes from, make sure my math adds up, 25% comes from water, and then the rest comes from alternative and renewable power. Edison is a leader in alternative and renewable power. By 2010, the state has mandated that 20% of our portfolio come from alternative and renewable power. We're going to meet that by 2010. By 2020, 33% of our portfolio needs to come from alternative and renewable. On the infrastructure side, Edison is going to invest $10 billion within the next 5 years. We've already invested $3 billion in the last 3. Newport Beach has been a direct recipient of those services. You have an excellent public works director. I don't have to tell you that. We have new DSP projects coming in. So what we would ask the city to continue through Mr. Kiff, I work very closely with him as well, is as these projects come before staff, that we work in the best manner possible to make sure that the permits get obtained and everything else associated with the projects. And of course, Edison will do everything that is required of us on our end. The last thing that I wanted to mention is smart metering. The smart meter rollout is coming. It'll be completed by the end of June in Newport Beach. It began early May. We've deployed 2 million meters to date. We're going to do 5 million within the next 3 years. In Newport Beach specifically, we're working with local planning to ensure that as we do the underground conversions, if we can switch meters out, we'll switch them at that time. It doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen, but if there is a situation that lends itself, then we're going to work with the planning department. And it's very important, like I said, that the permitting process, that we do the work on our end, the required work as well on that. So if there are any questions, I'll entertain any answers at this point.
Any questions, Mr. Marquez? Okay, thank you for that update, Eddie. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a good night, Council.
Thank you. Any other members of the public who wish to address the council? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comments, and we will go to item 19, public hearing on Marina Park. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yet another major project is before you with its environmental impact report. This is the Marina Park project, which, gosh, I'd hesitate to say how long we've been working on this site plan and bringing it to you in the EIR form. But as is our standard practice, we'll give a brief staff presentation, and then, of course, you'd open the public hearing, and then there's a number of, after hearing the public's comments, you'd offer a number of separate actions, I believe, on adopting a couple of resolutions relating to the environmental impact report. So with that, Deputy Public Works Director Dave Webb is here to present the plan.
Good evening, council members, and mayor. Very exciting, as Mr. Kiff pointed out today, we had a groundbreaking on one of our facilities. We have another one under construction. Oasis is about 75% done. We have Sunset Ridge. You just saw the EIR and certified that recently, and now we're really happy to bring you Marina Park. A very exciting project. So what I'd like to do is first I'm going to go through the plan a little bit to refresh you in the audience where we're at on the plan, and then I'll turn it over to Rosalind to tell you about the EIR. But before we get started, I'd like to truthfully thank our project team over here. You see him sitting here, Rosalind Ung with planning. Mark Reeder's our contract staff member who's working with us. Laura is right over here, and I think Sean's been working a lot. I don't see him tonight, but he's with us. We have Wendy Lockwood. She's with Cirrus Environmental. And, of course, Dan Herman is our consultant on here. He's our lead landscape architect. So with that, I'm going to jump right in. This is the concept plan that you approved back in November 13th, 2007. You'll see your way around this, and I'll talk about it in a little more detail later. As we move forward, though, I want to point out that this is the existing site for the audience, and there's several features to note here. We have basically the existing park in this area here, our community center, the Girl Scout house. There's a mobile home park here, and there's their parking in an alley right along here, 18th Street, 19th Street, and this is 15th over here. And this park comes into play. This is where we're going to relocate some tennis courts. So the project is basically forwarded into a couple phases. We broke it into 3 phases depending on funding and Coastal Commission approvals and how the economy moves forward so we can get to the ultimate phase. The first one basically that we're going to evaluate tonight in the EIR is basically a dirt park, just to basically remove the mobile homes. We're going to grade the area, put in some minimum facilities. We're adding a temporary restroom facility here. We'll put some paths across. Access to the beach will be open. The parking lot that's for the mobile homes right now will be turned into a parking lot that serves the beach area here. We'll still maintain the parking lot here and all the facilities in this park at this phase. If we choose to go to another phase of a higher level, we have phase 2 that we'll be evaluating. Phase 2 basically is the first phase, but we add turf in this area. We add additional trails and amenities. We add picnic tables. We still have a temporary facility here, and all the park facilities in front are still in order. And then ultimately come to phase 3, which is the concept you've seen before. This phase is much more in depth, and it basically has a lot of amenities that we're looking for. It's really going to be a jewel to the community. Starting over here, we have a 23-slip visiting marina that we plan on building. Moving next to it, we'll have a sailing center. This is about 11,500 square feet. That's about 11,000 square feet. The community center next door is about 10,500 square feet. And then we have a front parking lot area here. You'll have an open green area here with various amenities in it. We have a water park planned, a playground over here, a lighthouse structure with restrooms in it. This building here is a Girl Scout house. The Girl Scout house is up here now. We look to relocate it, and we're working with the Girl Scout Council on that. A couple of half courts here. And the tennis courts that were in this area now are being relocated over into this park in front of the Legion as part of this. You'll have much better access to the beach. The sailing center will also have its docks out here for its programs. And then again, the beach is open. We did include at one point the 19th Street restroom, which is in need of rehab in the project, but it was also planned on the $20 million project with this is we're not going to do that currently. We'll do it at some phase. But for the permitting process, we want to move through and permit that, and then we can build it some other time. This is a side view of the park. Same area. We've got the marina over here and the sailing center, community center, and the various aspects of it. And then we've got another view here from another angle. You've seen this picture. This is the profile of the buildings here. This would be the community center, breezeway through it, and the sailing center would be on this side. This building's roughly 35 feet tall along the roof line, and then we have the lighthouse feature that goes up to 73 feet. And again, just a detail of the marina there. So with that, what I'd like to do is move right into the environmental presentation. I'll have Rosalind come up and we'll go through that, and then we'll take any questions.
Good evening, Mr. Mayors and members of the City Council. For your consideration tonight is the final EIR document that has been prepared according to the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines and the council policy. The initial study and the draft EIR document were prepared and circulate for a 45-day public review comment from the end of February to the middle of April of 2009. Staff received a total of 16 comments letter of that circulation. In response to those comments letters, the need for additional technical studies and analysis was necessary, together with the changes to the project description for the project phasing, which is 1, 2, and 3. The preparation and recirculation of the second draft EIR was necessary. The second draft EIR was prepared and included content of the first draft, including the additional technical study analysis that was done recently. It's also include a number of mitigation measures which reduce most of the potentially significant adverse impact to a level of less than significant, with the exception of one significant unavoidable impact related to noise construction during of the project. This impact is short-term and would end upon the completion of the construction activities. The second draft also analyzed project alternatives, which includes A, no project, no development, which assumes that the existing condition would remain as is. B, reduce the marina alternative, which assumes the marina will be developed to have a total of a 12 slip, approximately half the size of the proposed 23 slip marina. And C, no marina alternative, which assumes marina would not be built. Although alternative B, which is the reduced marina, and alternative C, no marina, are considered to have a reduced impacts and considered to be environmentally superior to the proposed project, they would not achieve the objective of the project. Some of the project objectives are, 1, redevelop the site with land uses that are consistent with and permitted by the legal restriction on the use of the tideland, and to provide community facility to meet the goals of the general plan for recreation and harbors and beaches, and to provide additional marine-related activity that can be used by coastal visitors for sailing and boating. The second draft was circulate for 45 days from January 25th to March 10th, 2010, and staff received a total of 11 comment letters. These comments have been addressed and included in the final draft EIR document. The final EIR also includes an errata section which contain minor revision and clarifications to the second draft EIR document. These changes do not alter any conclusion identified in the second draft of the EIR and therefore would not require the recirculation for public review. If the City Council finds that the public benefit for the project outweighed the short-term significant unavoidable impact related to the construction noise, staff recommends that the City Council adopt the following resolutions. A resolution certify the Marina Park project's final EIR and a resolution adopting a statement of overriding considerations and approving the site plans for Phase 1, 2, and 3 of the Marina Park project. And lastly, staff is requesting that the City Council exempt the Marina Park from the Planning and Zoning Code as it's related to the building height. The multi-purpose and the selling program buildings are exceeding the permitted height limits due to their unique use and architectural design. With this is my conclusion of this presentation. And to inform the City Council that staff is in receive a copy of the letter from Ms. Louise Freudenberg, President of the Central Newport Beach Community Association, expressed concerns with the removal of the 2 existing alley gates during Phase 1 and 2 of the project. The removal of these gates would result in a Balboa Boulevard westbound traffic bypass from 15th to 19th Street. Ms. Freudenberg is requesting that these gates would remain until the Phase 3 construction. With that, staff is available to answer any of your questions at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Councilmember Gardner.
Several, but I'll try to get through them quickly. Just some comments and notes, too. 2-17 and also on 5.7-10, we talk about activities will not cause visible oil and grease. Can we phrase that more artfully? Oh, we don't see it, so it doesn't count. 3.8, the laundry. Is that going to be a privately operated laundry? I mean, are we going to have a vendor who's going to operate it? Or is that going to be something the city does? Is it coin operated?
It is a coin operated, as my understanding.
But will it be a vendor that we lease it to, or we will manage it?
You know, we haven't looked at that yet.
Okay.
The concept would be potentially the marina itself would be managed by someone, and we broke that into it that they keep the washing machines working.
3-19, the center's open until midnight. Are other community centers open that late?
Well, you know how the peninsula gets. Yeah. Actually, Laura, can you help us there? I think.
At a couple of the facilities that we rent out for events on Fridays and Saturday nights, yes.
Okay, so but we're not thinking of midnight every night.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, only for rentals, and those traditionally come on Friday and Saturday nights.
You might want to clarify that then. Just a thought, the tennis courts with metered lights, sometimes that works really well. You put in your quarters and you get to play, and you don't have the lights on all the time if nobody's playing.
Play faster that way.
Except when the meter doesn't work like it did at Mariners Park for about
all
7
right.
or 8 months.
5-3-24, the mitigation is going to be determined by the city. This is sort of odd, isn't it, to have the proponent determine the mitigation? Are we going to ask for expertise on that? I mean, we wouldn't let a developer just decide, well, we're going to mitigate 1-to-1. So I'm just thinking that we should have somebody look at this outside of the city that hasn't prepared the EIR to determine what the mitigation should be just to give credibility, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm almost through. On the marine management plan, we talk about the alternative paints. But if this is going to be a marina for visiting boats, I don't know how we're going to control that. We're not going to be doing any boat stuff here. We're going to say that boats that have copper paint can't rent? All right. So, I mean, that's unclear there. So that's something to consider. 8-46, the beach areas for ocean launch. Well, that's a hell of a launch. Because the ocean is on the other side of the peninsula. So, do we have evidence that 23s are needed instead of the alternative smaller one? Was that thoroughly discussed, or was it just a wish?
Yes, it was discussed. We found through our Harbor Commission did a study. Harbor Commissioner did a study, and he found that that was an adequate number.
All right.
And he had evidence to support that.
Okay.
And actually, some of the earlier studies, of course, had indicated that the marina needed to even be much larger. But we pared this down, as I remember, based on this trying to accommodate visitor needs. And so I think that's one of the things that these are really short-term rentals. This isn't
right.
The type of thing that will be rented in the long term.
And then I have only one more, which is on page 57, hand mark 57 of the responses, it says at various meetings, consider the design, size, and height of the complex. The consensus recommendation from both hearing bodies, I don't know that we as a council really opined on it. I mean, we didn't come to any big decision on it. We assumed that we would be addressing it as part of the EIR. I, for one, am somewhat uncomfortable that as a city, that we get to blithely disregard our own standards. And I understand that it's hard to make a lighthouse that's only maybe 31 feet high, but why does the other building have to exceed the height limit? Is it just a design feature, or does it serve a purpose? I know work has gone on, but I would just like to know the rationale for that.
Which building are you talking about?
Well, it says that the shoreline, the lighthouse restroom, we're going to have a grand restroom, it exceeds it, but the other building also does. Yes, that does, but then the roof of the other building doesn't exceed the height limit?
I can verify. This one's 35 feet, I believe, and it's right at the height limit.
Okay, then I misunderstood that.
I was checking with Rosalind. We can protrude through that per our own code. We're just asking that we skip the variance process that we normally go through.
No, I'm not so concerned about the lighthouse. I thought that the other roof also exceeded. That was my misreading, so that's clear. So those are my comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other questions for staff?
Seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing and invite anyone who would like to come and make comments relative to this EIR to come to the podium, please. Or forever hold your peace.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Craig Morissette, and I represent the Central Newport Beach Community Association. And we're very, very pleased. Our board of directors is very, very pleased with the work and the progress that's been made on this project. But there's one item that really has concern for us, and that is the two gates in Phase 1. In Phase 1, the EIR implies that those gates will be removed, and as Ms. Ung pointed out in our letter, the concern is that by opening those two gates, there's going to be a westbound bypass for Balboa Boulevard in the summertime. So you'll have people going from 15th to 19th Street and then stacking at 19th Street. Staff's recommendation to counter our concern was to put signage in. The concern with that is that anybody that's lived on the peninsula for any period of time knows that people in the summertime ignore signs. If it says do not enter, if it says one way, as long as there's a clear path, they'll take it. So, we really have some concerns about putting signs in. So our request is that those gates remain closed and the existing access to the Phase 1 park be the mobile home existing access point. And I've got a couple.
Before you sit down, Craig, could we go back to that so we see that clearly?
This one. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If I could. There's two gates he's referring to. There's one right here at the American Legion in this alley, and there's another one right here closed currently. Could I quick response?
Sure.
If I could. This did come up. Granted, as we were working through Phase 3, we had no worries with gates. When Phase 1 and 2 came along, we did plan on opening this alley, as you can see on the next slide here. We would plan on opening this alley. We had our traffic folks look at this and our consultants. We really didn't see a drive-through problem, but as the EI says, we would contemplate looking at those gates when we got into the design of this. There are several things we'd like to do. We'd monitor the situation, but we could put speed bumps in here. We could make this one way. We just haven't got to that level of detail yet. The concern is we don't really know if there's really a cut-through or see that, because what they're talking about is probably people coming this way and trying to either go this way and bypass. But I think it'd be important when we look at this to have this parking lot have the ability to go out to the light here and make lefts or use this light. And that's why at this point we're thinking the gates would probably be good to remove. But the decision hasn't really been made yet.
Or you could leave one open and one closed. That would do the same thing.
Thank you. Are there other public comments?
I don't think he was finished yet. I interrupted him.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay. And that may be a good solution. What I would suggest is that the EIR only has a sentence or two referencing these gates. And I would hope that the council would refer this matter to the advisory committee and let them work through the details of it. There's probably many options. We're concerned, though, that it get locked into the EIR and we end up absolutely with a solution that locks both gates. The one way exiting this, the east direction, may be an option. There's a playground there. You can see it on the photograph that I provided. And so that would probably have to be fenced off. It's a tot lot. But at any rate, that's our concern, and thank you for listening. And
thank you, Greg. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Curry, I'm speaking now on behalf of Mayor Pro Tem Henn, because he and I corresponded about this specific issue. He was supportive of generally what Craig Morissette had mentioned, in that it would be ideal if the council's committee on this item could decide what happens with the gates, with the Public Works Department and with the community to make sure it fits. I can certainly understand, though, the point in the EIR is to make sure that all options are available to us. But again, Mayor Pro Tem Henn was supportive of some type of restriction on that road so that it not become a thoroughfare.
Could we add wording in our findings to indicate that that's an operational issue and not really an environmental issue, and that if we have a problem, we close it off, or one or both of them off, or something that doesn't say we have to leave them open or we have to leave them closed? Because I think there might be, like for instance, if you were trying to say having a significant traffic backup at the existing entrance and exit, you might want to encourage them to go back to 15th Street and use the traffic signal. But if the gate is closed or mandated to be closed, that option might not be open to you. So it seems like to me this is a detail that probably is more of an operational issue that shouldn't be specifically yes or no in the environmental document.
I would agree with you, Councilmember Webb. It's not an environmental effect per se of the project. What it is, it's an operational. And Public Works certainly has processes in place where they can put in traffic control measures should it be required. And I agree that if you write into the EIR either that gates are mandated or they're not mandated, that may tie that decision down the line. And it is an operational matter.
Well, I think I would be supportive of that flexibility as well as requested by Mr. Henn.
Are there other speakers who wish to come during the public hearing? Please step to the podium.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Tom Billings, and I represent Protect Our Parks, which is an organization that was involved in helping this to become a reality starting about 2003, and through Measure L and the design committee. I was a member on the design committee as well. And I'm here just tonight to also support the EIR. I'm so grateful that it's finally come, and we can move through this hurdle and hopefully get to phase 1 and 2. And as Dave has always said, maybe we can jump to 3. But that's a budget item, I realize, and some more permits that need to be done by the coastal. But yeah, we're in support of it. I did speak with Craig and Louise, or they contacted me, and I see the concern there as well in terms of opening the floodgates between 16th and 18th, and you've already addressed it. But I can see maybe one solution is, which Mr. Webb said, you could just lock one end, and that would make them go out the other way. But anyway, so that's good. The other thing I wanted to just point out was in terms of, I know there's 3 alternatives that are required in these ERs. One was no project, B was reduced marina, and C was no marina. If it gets to the point of that, due to budget reasons, to look at alternatives, I just want to share that we originally, when we designed our concept plan, we actually had a 12-slip marina, and it was actually offshore. It was off where the sailing center is now. It didn't cause a need to dredge out a huge MARINA. And I know the Harbor Commission has fought hard to get that, and I'm not trying to knock them down. I'm just saying if we ever get to that phase, I think it could really work well where it does meet the needs of the boat, the visiting slips, to have a reduced marina size. And then the other thing that Councilmember Gardner pointed out in terms of the 12 p.m. Curfew, 12 a.m., sorry, a.m., midnight. One of the things that, and we heard that, okay, well, that's for Fridays and Saturdays. What I'm hearing are weddings. And I realize that the city can do whatever they want in their community center building, but I would hope that we don't turn this into a lot of wedding events down there, because that's not what it was ever, Marina Park was intended to be. It's a park and park harbor-related activities. But I know I can't tell the city to Parks and Rec to do what they want with their programs, but that would be, hopefully, we have enough of that with the wedding boats around the harbor. So anyway, on a positive note, thank you. I'm glad that we're here and moving forward.
Thank you, Tom.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is George Wallams. I've been here since 1967, and I taught sailing in the Bay. My question is, was a small boat launch ramp ever considered in the project? And if it was, why was it turned down?
Does staff have any response to that?
It actually was considered in the amenity discussion through the design committee, and we talked about where that might be. And the concept, though, was that this be more oriented towards hand launch types of boats. The areas where the sailing center would use, those are those kind of gentle rubber slip areas where you could store potentially a heavier boat and be able to launch it right away, but not separately that would be towed in on a car. Again, part of a traffic thing, and the thought being that Newport Dunes is still a good spot for that.
Well, the other thing, Dave, is that we didn't want to dedicate a larger area towards parking boat trailers.
That was a concern as well.
We were very limited in the amount of space that we could provide for parking in general, and that type of use would use up much of the area that we wanted to have for open space park uses.
Right. Well, yeah, it's hard to differentiate between a small. I was considering the Lido 14s, those type boats, which would require a little bit of a trailer to get in, but those are the type of boats that people like to sail in the bay, and getting them in the bay is difficult, unless you go to Newport Dunes.
Okay. Thank you. Other speakers? All right, seeing no...
Mr. Mayor?
Wait, do we have another speaker? No? Okay. All right, seeing no other public speakers, I'm going to close the public hearing. Mr. Selich.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution certifying the Marina Park project EIR, making certain findings of fact and determinations, and adopting a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, that we adopt the resolution for the statement of overriding concerns and approving the site plans for phases 1, 2, and 3 of the Marina Park project, and that we make the gate issue an operational issue and not an environmental issue, and that finally that we vote to exempt the Marina Park project from Title 20 Planning and Zoning of the Newport Beach Municipal Code. And I'm proud to make that motion after 4.5 years of working on this project. It's a long time coming. I think it's going to be a great attribute to this city. It'll be one of the finest facilities of this kind in the nation, I believe, and really proud to have been part of the team that's been working on this.
As another member of the committee, I'd like to do the second on that. I, too, feel that this is a great asset. It's going to create a brand-new window to the bay. It's going to provide something that we really don't have in the harbor, is some place for visiting yachtsmen to come and spend a few days here. And so I feel that this will be a great asset, and I'm hoping that we get Phase 3 done sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Any other councilman wish to speak on this matter? Let me just say that today when we turned ground on City Hall, I said that this was an historic day because we are breaking ground on a facility that will be a gathering place in the center of our city for people for 100 years to come as they enjoy the park and the meeting rooms and the library expansion. Well, today is also a historic day because we're taking a step here that's very important to create a meaningful public amenity on the peninsula that will serve the peninsula for another 100 years as well, making available the beach, making available access to the bay, a park, the Girl Scout House, and a community center that will serve as a focal point for the community going forward for generations. I know Mayor Pro Tem Hinn would like to be here for this moment. I know he has worked as hard as anybody in the city to make this project a reality, and he certainly deserves to be recognized for that. But like my colleagues who have been part of the committees in the past, I am also very proud to be part of this historic event tonight. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Motion to reconsider?
Motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Are there any motions for reconsideration? All right, hold on for a minute. Seeing none, we are going to adjourn tonight's meeting in memory of Keith Dennis. Keith was a City of Newport Beach employee who passed away on Monday, May 3rd after a tragic accident. He was only 25 years old. Keith joined the city staff in 2004 and worked part-time as a parking lot attendant for Harbor Resources. In January of 2006, he transferred to the Utilities Department, where he worked as a part-time maintenance aide. He became a full-time member of the city staff in October 2007 when he accepted the position of Utilities Specialist. Keith was widely recognized by his peers for being a hard worker, and he was well-liked and respected by his co-workers and supervisors. He will be remembered for his dedication and great sense of humor. Keith is greatly missed by all who had the privilege to know him. His parents, Susan and Randy Dennis, and loved ones are in our thoughts and prayers tonight. So we adjourn tonight in memory of Keith Dennis. We are adjourned.